Hey everyone, and welcome back to my channel. Today's video is a cook with me. We are going to be making this delicious homemade chicken piccata recipe. For those of you that are new, my name is Veronica and I make videos for mamas and homemakers alike in all things cooking, cleaning, and decorating. If you have not already, please consider subscribing down below. I would love for you to join my internet family. Here is a quick look at some of the items we're going to be using for the breading today. I have a variety of spices here, as well as some panko breadcrumbs, some egg, and I will also be using some flour. So before I can bread the chicken, I do need to do just a couple of things. The first thing I need to do is go ahead and use a meat tenderizer to try and flatten the chicken to a more cohesive thickness. That way all three of the pieces of chicken are the same and they will all cook evenly and at the same speed. Next, I am just rinsing and drying off the meat to make sure that the flour mixture will stick thoroughly to the chicken. And finally, I am trimming any excess fat or skin that is on the chicken breast off because I want to make sure that this is a very easy to eat kind of meal. I do have some picky eaters in the house, so I want to make sure it is good for them as well. To make the breading, I'm actually going to use a Ziploc freezer bag, and I'm using just over a half of a cup of flour. I'm also using about a teaspoon of cayenne pepper just to give it a little bit of kick. To that, I'm also adding onion powder, garlic powder, and oregano. I like to use the palm of my hand to do measurements rather than measuring spoons just because it's one less thing to wash later on, but I have a pretty good eye for the amount that a teaspoon looks like, so that's the reason I'm doing it that way. The reason I use a Ziploc bag is to minimize cleanup as well. All you have to do is actually put the chicken into the bag and mix it up in there, and it's one less dish to have to clean. For the binding agent, I am using an egg, so I'm just going ahead and dipping and making sure the chicken breast is completely covered, and once it is done, I am putting it in the flour, making sure it is nice and coated, and then removing it to a clean pan. Here is a look at the chicken now that it has been coated with the breading.
I've never felt like this. What are you doing to me?
In a skillet on medium-high heat, I am going ahead and heating up about 3 tablespoons of olive oil, and I am letting that heat up before I coat the pan.
So tell me.
Once the oil has coated the pan, I go ahead and put in the breaded chicken. These 3 pieces fit perfectly in this pan, so it works out really well.
I really make you feel like you don't need anyone. Do I make you want to run? Just be wild and free. Do I really make you feel like you don't need anyone else? Like you don't need anyone else? Because all I need is you.
After about 5 to 7 minutes, I go ahead and flip the chicken to brown it on the opposite side and make sure that it is golden brown. At this point, I also add a little bit extra olive oil to the pan just to make sure that second side does not get mushy or gross. I want to make sure it is nice, crispy, and golden brown.
About you is the reason I can't spend one more day without you.
Once I am happy with how both sides are looking, I remove them from the frying pan and put them into a baking dish, and they will finish cooking in the oven.
Do I really make you feel like you don't need anyone? Do I make you wanna run? Just be wild and free. Do I really make you feel like you don't need anyone else? Like you don't need anyone else? Because all I need is you.
Depending on the size of your chicken, you will want to cook it for anywhere from 15 to 25 minutes. I like to do this at 400 degrees, but I know others like to cook at a lower temperature. While the chicken is in the oven, I'm going to go ahead and start off by dicing up a shallot. Shallots are a very mild onion, and they are beautiful in dishes. I especially like them in anything that is based in lemon, but we use them all the time in our house. But I absolutely love shallots, so I would highly recommend trying out a shallot in place of a stronger onion in your next meal. To start the sauce, I am going to melt a half a stick of salted butter in that same pan. We're using that same pan so that we can get all that beautiful flavor that is cooked out of the chicken and breading. So once the butter is melted, we will add in the shallots.
Like you don't need anyone else. Like you don't need anyone else. Because all I need is you. Oh, all I need is you. Hey. Oh, yeah. So
And once that butter is completely melted, we will add in those shallots and stir them in. To me, there is no better smell than butter and shallots cooking in your home. It just is so cozy to me, so this is probably my favorite part. And once the shallots are cooked through, I am adding a half a cup of lemon juice and a half of a cup of white wine.
hold on, wait up just a minute now. What are you doing to me? Hold on.
Now that that is all incorporated, I am just sprinkling some flour over the top to act as a thickening agent.
Wait a second, take it slow. Wait a second, don't you know? You're messing with my sense of time, and you are always on my mind. All the time, you're always on my mind. All the time. Hold on, you must be playing tricks with time. What are you doing to me? Hold on, what I get to make you mine. What are you?
And the last step is to add these non-peril capers to the piccata sauce. We are just going to go ahead and use half of a jar, both the liquid and capers, to make sure we have that beautiful briny taste as well as the texture from the capers.
Time, and you are always on my mind. All the time, you're always on my mind. All the
Now it is time to put it all together. So I'm starting by plating some Parmesan garlic mashed potatoes, and on top of that I will place the chicken.
hold on, wait a second, don't you know that you're always on
step is to add our delicious piccata sauce. I have to tell you that this chicken piccata is my absolute favorite. It has that beautiful crunch texture to the breading, and the tartness of the sauce just brings it all together. And that is it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you do try this recipe, make sure you tag me over on Instagram. I would love to see what you come up with. Until next time, bye!